Hi guys, I'm Kevin Bach from LaserMax. Today I'm going to run through installation of a guide rod laser for the H&K VP9. So before we get started, you want to make sure both visually and physically that your firearm is unloaded and that you don't have any ammunition in your workspace. So these recoil springs are under tension, so anytime we're dealing with springs, we are going to recommend you wear a pair of safety glasses, so I'll toss those on now. First things first, let's take a look at what comes in your guide rod packaging. Inside you'll find an envelope that has your operator's manual. It'll have your guide rod laser itself, slide lock switch, and laser warning label. To get started, you'll take the slide off of the frame. On this model, it's very simple. You just lock the slide to the rear and rotate the takedown lever approximately 90 degrees. This particular model doesn't require you to press the trigger in order to release the slide. So you just pull back on the slide at that point, and the slide will come off the front. You'll remove the factory guide rod and recoil spring assembly by simply putting pressure on the back side of it with your thumb. You can set that off to the side to use for later. At this point, I'll show you guys how to change batteries out on this particular model. As you can see here, there's a small notch that you can fit your fingernail underneath to pop the battery cap off. And then underneath, you'll find three 393 batteries. When you purchase these from LaserMax, they come in a sleeve to make it a little easier to install these, but you can, on this model, just purchase loose batteries locally. The 393 battery is a very common watch battery, so they're usually pretty plentiful. So when you reinstall the batteries, you'll just make sure that the positive side is facing upward towards you. Just drop those into the tube. And then replace the battery cap, making sure to orient the slot that is cut out of the tube with the little notch that's on the battery cap itself. And those will seat together, just like that. Installing the guide rod into the VP9, you'll make sure that this tab on the bottom portion of the battery cap is facing directly downward towards the barrel. And then that goes back in just like the factory guide rod and recoil spring did. Now, removal of the factory slide lock is very simple. You'll just press the trigger and then you can kind of wiggle this out of here and it'll just come right on out. Set that aside. Installation of the LaserMax takedown lever and switch is just as simple. You'll press the trigger and you can kind of wiggle this into place, and that should lock in just like that. So with the slide lock still in the downward position, approximately 90 degrees from where it started, you'll now put the slide back onto the frame and then lock the slide to the rear. At that point, you'll simply rotate the takedown lever back into its original position, and you can just let the slide go home under the force of the recoil spring. It's important to note that if you see that the slide lock is in a downward position like this, that the guide rod itself is probably misoriented inside of the firearm, then you can usually just rack the slide a couple of times and it'll orient the guide rod inside of the slide for you and get it into place. Or you can remove the slide again and make sure that it's oriented properly. So activation of this is very simple. For a right-handed shooter, you'll simply use your support hand thumb and flip that teardrop switch. It's just as simple for lefties. You'll use your trigger finger, which when you're not firing this should be oriented along the frame anyways, pretty much right where the switch is. So you can just activate it like that with your trigger finger. So that's the installation of the guide rod laser for the H&K VP9. For more information on this and all other LaserMax products, check out our website, lasermax.com. And I'll see you on the range.